This is a lockdown booty call. A lockdown booty call.
Hello and welcome to Lockdown Booty Calls. My name is Robin Boot, and in episode 9, I'm talking with Archie Sylvester and Issy Ferris, better known as the band Ferris and Sylvester. Now, I've got no idea how they came up with the name for their band, but in the last 4 years, they've had huge success, touring around the world, sharing stages with the likes of Eric Clapton and Robert Plant, and actually winning Best Emerging Artist of the Year 2020 at the UK Americana Awards. We discussed how they first met and started performing together, and how they recorded their first EP in the living room of their flat in Streatham, annoying the neighbours in the process. We talked about how they've managed to use lockdown to focus on new creative projects. We also talked about the hallucinogenic qualities of Danish oil and how frustrating D major is as a chord. If you enjoy this podcast, please do share it with somebody else you think might like it, and go and check out the other ones I've recorded. This is episode 9 of Lockdown Booty Calls with Ferris and Sylvester. Archie, Izzy, welcome to Lockdown Booty Calls. It is a pleasure to see you. Thanks for coming on the podcast. How are you both doing?
We're good. Thank you very much for having us on. It's nice to see a friend.
It is. It's really nice to see two friends. It's fantastic. I can't remember the last time I actually saw you in person. I think it may have been at Black Deer Festival.
Oh my gosh.
Last summer 2019, when people used to go out in large groups. Oh, shock horror.
That
was the one.
The
That
kick
was
drum pedal
hot.
and the kick drum pedal broke, and our microphones broke.
Yeah.
It was a fun show though.
But apart from that, it was a really good gig. You know, we all have our challenges to overcome, don't we? Now, the people watching this on the webcast version will see quite an interesting background. The people listening to the podcast won't have a clue what I'm going on about. Can you just describe where you are at the moment and where you've been spending lockdown?
Well, I mean, we're in our studio at home at the moment, and this is basically where we've been spending most of lockdown, actually, in this little room.
Every day.
Yeah, we spent the last sort of few days, or last week we took a few days out and made some very, very interesting acoustic diffusers that are based on prime numbers that we built from scratch. Cut the wood. I bought a circular saw, which our neighbours are very impressed with, and it's good fun though. It's one of those saws that you measure the wood up, and you put it in, and it just goes. You pull the handle down.
It's rock and roll 24/7 in your household, isn't it? Really.
Lockdown has brought out a lot of interesting hobbies, I'd say.
Yeah. Again, if you are listening to the podcast version of this, do check out the webcast version, because it does look like SimCity meets Jenga on their back wall. I think had a little arts and crafts club going on in the Ferris Sylvester household.
We like making things, or it's nice to actually sit there and make. I mean, the studio where we are, we built the whole desk ourselves, designed all of the rack gear and not the actual gear, the racks that holds the gear, built all of that kind of thing. And it's nice once you've actually done it. It feels quite good, you know, that no one else is going to have exactly that because we built it. It got very into Danish oil.
Oh yes, what a fantastic oil. I like a bit of Danish oil. That blend of linseed and polyurethane. It's the classic combination of natural and artificial coming together for the greater good. Well, this isn't how I expected the podcast to start. With 4 minutes in, we're talking about the benefits of Danish oil. Yeah, so
you can use it indoors, outdoors. I love the smell of it. It reminds me of my granddad, actually, Danish oil. He used to be very good at making things out of wood.
It's mildly hallucinogenic as well. Forget your opiates and your weed or whatever the 1960s and 70s held. Danish oil is the future of music creativity.
That's right. Well, since the C word came into effect, it's been very difficult to access the normal hallucinogenics. So we've had to use, as soon as the hardware shops opened, we were straight in there, stock up.
B&Q is your dealer, is it?
Oh, yeah. B&Q, the orange giant.
I'm desperate for a screw fix. That means this sort of thing.
That's it.
Yeah, I think we should move this on. Otherwise, we're going to go down a very dark route very early on. So, lockdown restrictions are still in place. I know that you've been quite productive, but what would you be doing normally if we weren't under lockdown?
Well, we were due to be in the middle of festival season, I guess. That was kind of our thing for this year, and we have a record. We have an album that we finished last year, which, like many other, we're one of many acts, artists, bands, musicians who have had to kind of just put their work on hold for a bit, which has opened up, lots of other things for us to do and focus on. But yeah, now that that's kind of on hold and we're not playing live and we're not promoting this album, we've basically just had time to write a lot and focus on production, focus on writing, and Archie, our other lockdown project for Archie has been learning the drums. So yeah, we've definitely filled what would have been a busy summer. We've filled with, I think, some productive things.
And obviously, the last few years for you have been absolutely crazy. I know you met back in 2017 in Spiritual Bar, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, let's go back to where it started, because I want to hear a bit more about this. Tell me where you actually first met properly, either professionally or even romantically, if we could have that sort of side to the podcast as well.
Romantic?
That seems a long time ago. Yeah.
Okay, let's do it professionally then, if you're going to be like that, Archie.
Because I'd been going to the bar for about 6 months before we actually met at Spiritual Bar, which is in Camden, and it's got a great scene, and we've met a lot of our great friends there. But I think we'd done like 3 gigs together, one at Spiritual Bar and a couple.
We had done a few gigs together,
but never spoken.
I was always playing later on because I was louder. I don't know. It's the thing about when you go and see live music, the loudest people go on later. Anyway, and Issy, I kept watching Issy's sets, and then Issy would leave before I did my set.
That's a lie. I did that once.
Absolutely not a lie. Totally true. And I remember being quite sort of like the first time I was like, these things happen. You can't. But 3 times, and I was like,
Spiritual Bar. I definitely watched it at Spiritual Bar many times.
You were with your friends and talked the whole way through the set. You see, I don't have a picture of personality at all.
No, I did leave one show because I had work the next day, and
that's perfectly understandable.
And I left early.
Anyway,
we eventually
good etiquette. We did meet finally, sort of properly. The first time I actually properly spoke wasn't actually at Spiritual Bar. It was at a fairly
horrible place.
Well, that is absolutely not a horrible place. It's just a place where we probably have never, in fact, definitely haven't ever been since. What was it called?
You're burning bridges.
It's called Mahiki, and it's opposite the Ritz. And I had a gig there. They did like an acoustic Wednesday night. Anyone who knows it's a club in London, and I'm pretty sure you have to pay a lot to get in, and it's very expensive, and so it's just not a place that either of us would ever have gone to. But I had a gig there, and you knew some people that were there, and so we met.
Yeah,
we met there. But I was really sick that day, so I left early of my own gig as well.
So at what point, Issy, did you start running out of excuses, and you're actually able to bond properly?
So bad. Well, then we met.
It wasn't like I was chasing her. Absolutely not. I hadn't thought a huge amount about it.
This is fantastic body language as well, Archie. People on the podcast won't see just how changed it is. It feels like I'm doing reverse couples counselling, where they came in all joyful and happy and in love, and now they are very much backs turned to each other and having a full-on domestic almost.
£1 a minute to hear how shit I am at sex.
That's a Peep Show quote. I just need to.
Oh right, yeah. Just clarify that before I start thinking about snippets I can use to advertise this podcast.
But yeah, well then after that, after we'd met a few times, we kind of I went to a couple of your shows, and we met at Spiritual Bar a couple of times, and then we decided I'd sent you some demos, and so then we wrote together a few times, and just became really good friends quite early on. And I wanted to be in his band because that was something I was quite new to London, and I was doing my own gigs and my own shows, but I didn't really have the confidence as like a big singer, and so or as a guitarist, and so I just decided that would be something that I want to do. And so I was quite insistent that I wanted to play in your band and do BVs, to which I did. We did a couple of shows.
Yeah, I lent Issy a guitar, an electric guitar, and we played at the 100 Club.
Yeah.
On Oxford Street. It was a cool gig.
Slightly different from Mahiki in terms of vibe.
Oh, great!
Very
vibe.
different.
100 Club's a great venue. Classic. I think the Rolling Stones had played in the 100.
I think everyone has at some point.
Yeah.
Apart from me, anyone worth their anyone worth it has played there. I'm available if the 100 Club are listening. I am available. My diary is free between now and 2025. I think.
Maybe they'll squeeze you in when they reopen. Yeah, we did that, and then Issy decided to kick out the bass player and drummer, and then it became a duo.
That is not.
That's not actually.
So Issy's a parasite, is basically what you're saying. She's come in and she's taken over and got rid of what you knew and loved, and just dominated this now duo.
Basically.
I wouldn't say no. She didn't kick anyone out. It developed. Once we started writing together. I knew the producer Youth, who I'd been to see quite a few times, and I'd taken songs in to see him. And the first few times he was like, no, rubbish, absolutely rubbish. And then I kept going back. I don't think he expected me to keep going back. I kept texting and saying, I've got some more songs. Would you like to hear these ones? He would go, all right, let's just come around. And then, and then eventually started giving some sort of constructive criticism, I suppose is probably the word. And then Issy and I had started doing some writing together. This was I don't know, probably near a year since I'd seen Youth previously, and I texted Youth and said, I've got this this new project with Issy. Do you want to hear what we've been working on? And he said, yeah, sure, come around. And so we went and sat in Youth's front room and played a few, so literally stumbled through a few songs. I don't even know if we'd ever done a gig, had we?
If we had, it was awful.
And yeah, very much just stumbled through very nervously. And he said, I really like this, to our surprise. And he said, let's record them, which was a real step for us. That was, we were so excited to do that. And I think that probably was a big factor in giving us the confidence to concentrate on the duo rather than our separate solo things. So we said, why don't we concentrate on this for a little bit and see what happens? And yeah, that was 4 years ago, and I guess we're still concentrating on it. So yeah, we definitely have Youth to thank for giving us the confidence to properly give it a go, really.
But also your own persistence and determination to keep banging on the door and saying, listen to us, and not giving up.
Yeah.
So
he's quite scary is the wrong word. I was quite scared. I was 19 when we met you. And so, it was just like the scariest thing. And quite rightly, I feel like when we were there, he was, especially the first couple of times we met, he kind of wanted to test us and who we were and all of that. And I just found it all very exciting, but really scary. Really.
And are you still in touch now and friends with him still?
Great.
We see him every now and then. Haven't seen him for a little while, obviously, but we work a lot with Michael Rendell, who has produced a lot of our stuff since then. And Michael, we met through Youth as well. So Michael was Youth's engineer for about 10 years. He still works with Youth a lot. And when we recorded with Youth, actually, that's when we met Michael for the first time, and we properly hit it off.
Michael and Archie are soulmates. Well, I feel like the three of us are all kind of soulmates, but Michael and Archie are very in tune, and so producing. They co-produce a lot now with our stuff. So our new stuff is kind of just them together, and they just mesh so well.
And they discuss the best sorts of wood and oil to use in
exactly.
building.
Michael's somebody who will listen to me.
Whereas I don't know what to say.
I'm always asking. Ever since we met, actually, I can't believe he hasn't got bored. I'm sure he has, but. So what about this microphone? What did they use when they did this vocal? What did the microphone do? So right, that was a tube condenser. Right, okay, cool. So that was right. What preamp? And he would just he had
analyze it to the nth degree, make sure everything was right, so that you can just unleash your creative flair on it.
We've learned, we learned a lot from him, and we still work with him. And he'll come in and. He has a really good ability to be able to take what Izzy and I have been working on, which can sometimes be quite a fully fledged idea. And sometimes the thing that Michael's really clever with is if it is going in the right direction already, just to help push it over the line and not go, right, I'm here now, we're going to do it my way and we're going to do it like that. He totally understands that it's all about the performance. Sometimes you might nail a vocal performance in your bedroom, and it doesn't matter if it was recorded on a cheap microphone. It is totally irrelevant. No one cares once it's on the record. If you've got the performance right, that's probably the one to go with. There's plenty of circumstances, and especially when we recorded our first album, which we did over Christmas time. When we'd recorded loads of stuff at home and we went in to redo it, we'd go, right, well, we'll redo the guitar part because now we're in this amazing studio and this microphone and blah, blah, blah. But actually, it wasn't as good as the one that we'd recorded whilst we were on tour in this little Airbnb that we were staying in, and just went through a little interface with a crappy microphone. That was the one, and that's the one that's on the album now, because eventually we realised that that had something that we can't replicate in this.
Because the moment was right, the performance was right, and actually when you go into a more sterile environment, when you don't have the rawness and you try and overanalyze things and get everything, all this tech around you, it's not necessarily the right environment to be artistic and let you creatively flow, is it?
Absolutely, it can be, but music is not about perfection.
No.
In our opinion.
Phew. Good, and I've been doing it right then.
Yeah,
maybe slightly too right at times. So this was what, 2017 that this all started taking shape.
Actually, we've known each other for over 4 years now.
Okay.
We went and recorded with Youth that in 2016, and that was our first project that we did. But it was very raw. I mean, it was before we had a name, and before we'd kind of found our feet with our sound.
Okay.
And we're very, very proud of it. That it kind of exists in physical form now, and then we'd kind of, I think it took us a while. We did that, and that was brilliant. But that was 4 songs that we'd recorded, and by September we'd written quite a lot. We'd written quite a few songs that we felt we needed to get out there. And so we didn't have a team. We didn't have, the Youth connection was amazing, and we really enjoyed working with him. But we kind of had an itch that we wanted to do it on our own, because we kind of had all these ideas in our head and together all the time, and just all this work was kind of flowing out. So, and then the following summer, which was in 2017, we recorded Made in Streatham in our home in Streatham.
Yes.
Which was a really big step for us in terms of confidence, because it was we literally did it the most, without any budget. We got insulation on the ceiling with a net, and a net held all of this. This
is a net as in a big piece of netting. It wasn't one of your friends called a net who was just there for a few days in the recording studio holding up this padding.
Good girl.
Proper budget,
strong arm.
Stacked an older net.
I believe that actually that was your idea, to build a gazebo and put a net on top of it.
Really?
I think that was your idea, wasn't it? Because you came round, didn't you come round to PA or something like that?
Probably.
Something came round and I was explaining what we were trying to do, and I said I need to figure out, we can't drill into the ceiling and stuff like that, blah blah blah, but we need to get some sort of acoustic insulation on the roof. Apparently, according to the engineer who's going to be helping us, and you said, well, I can't figure out how to do it, and you said you should get a gazebo and put a net on the top, and that's exactly
build an internal structure.
Yeah.
But of course, it is the gazebo effect, which is purely psychological. So I don't know if it actually had any real purpose.
Who knows?
We did that record in 5 days. The two of us had done all these demos and the pre-production, but we didn't, because we just didn't have any budget. We just had to get it done really, really quickly, not take up anyone's time and stuff. And so it was.
I actually found we'd written out a schedule, like to the minute. Yes, yeah. I found it, and we'd written out like, right at 9 o'clock, the drummer is going to arrive. We're going to leave 2 hours to set up drums and get the sound. He's then going to have an hour to nail everything, and then at 1 o'clock, the bass player will arrive. We'll have half an hour. An hour for lunch. I think I put half an hour for lunch.
Yeah, because I had to do the sandwiches. What was funny was that we didn't have a lot of our own gear at the time, and so we had hired in from this company in West London. We were living in Streatham, and so at 11 o'clock at night every day we had to stop, get in our car, run it back, get it back there by midnight so we weren't charged an extra day, and then go and pick them up the next day. Because I don't know why we did that.
Because it costs more to have it all delivered.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't afford to have. We hired like nice microphones and some decent gear to be able to do it.
Yeah.
But we had to hire to be within our budget, which is pretty much non-existent. It had to be right on Thursday is when we're going to be doing the vocals for all the songs
with this one microphone.
We need that microphone and that preamp on that day, but we can't afford to have it for the whole week. So we have to go and also to have it delivered was more expensive as well. So
it's like library books. Once you finished with one book, you take it back, and only then can you get out the
exactly.
The next
book. And that was it. And so it was literally 11:59 on the dot. We'd show up, drop something off, and then we'd be back the next morning to pick up the next one. So it was.
Quick question: you were living in a flat in a terraced house in Streatham at the time.
Mm-hmm.
What was your relationship with your neighbours like?
Not good.
Before you started recording, but more importantly, after you started recording.
We had
not good.
We had an Australian couple that lived above us.
Who hated us, but too right, they hated us because we played music all day and night, and so we understand that we weren't the best neighbours, but we had a Radio 2 performance, our first ever. That was in 2018, the beginning of 2018. The record Made in Streatham was just about to come out, and we got ourselves a Sunday morning slot playing live on Radio 2. We were so excited, and we spent the whole of the week before practicing. We had to do a cover, and we did Waterloo Sunset by the Kinks, and we spent the whole time practicing, and they were. I think what we'd said is, here's our number, if it gets too loud just text us, and we'll work it out.
Phone on silent.
And so I think they'd come downstairs and said, we're going out now, we're going out for dinner. This was on Saturday night, so it's like the night before. They said, we're going out for dinner, so kind of
you can rehearse now,
you can be loud. They went out at 4:45 and they came back from their Saturday night dinner at 7 o'clock. I was like, I feel so sorry for them. But
maybe they were just really horny.
You can say that.
I don't think they were. That was the thing. They were quite stuffy, weren't they?
But it was quite funny because then they came back at 7 o'clock and we were playing really loud. But yeah, so we didn't have the best relationship with them, but we also had some really lovely neighbours, and we're really lucky. It's a nice place to live, and everyone's really friendly. So no one really, apart from them, no one really.
Yeah, they eventually moved to Australia. They moved back to Australia.
Well, you were loud, weren't you?
Yeah. Had to get all the way across.
But we did eventually, over the time we were there, we did eventually get to know a few of the neighbours that were quite close by. Turns out that another one of them was also a musician. He was like, I'm sure I heard drums going on one day. And I was like, yeah, that was us. So it's absolutely fine. And he does. He's a guy called Errol Reed, who's amazing singer, and he's always doing lots of vocal stuff and edits upstairs. And I'd heard, you sort of know when either someone has got a broken record, or they're mental, or they're editing some sort of music, because you kept hearing the same bit of music going, and then back.
And
like,
very often it's a combination of all three, isn't it?
probably. Why do they keep playing the same fucking bit of the song over and over and over? And then I realised that he was doing some music stuff. He's nice.
So you mentioned your first Radio 2 performance, and then so this is 2 years ago, 2018, 2 years ago, and then since then you've gone on to, I've written down some of the names, some of the huge names like Robert Plant and Eric Clapton, sharing stage with them. Also, I've noted down James Blunt and Gary Barlow, that we can maybe, it's probably a milestone, but maybe there are other more important pivotal moments in your career that we can talk about instead of those artists. But then you played Glastonbury, you played South by Southwest, you've won UK Americana Awards, Emerging Artist of the Year 2020. All this in 3 or 4 years after recording an album in your living room with a homemade gazebo as soundproofing. On that journey, one, did you ever have to pinch yourself to think, what is going on? This can't be real. And two, what do you think the pivotal moments in that journey were to get you to where you are today?
That's great.
Big question.
Good question.
Thank you very much.
Would you like to go first?
Yeah, I think mine's a bit. It probably doesn't sound like a lot, but when 2018 felt like quite a big year, because we recorded Maiden Streatham in 2017, and through kind of trying to get that out there and putting on our own shows, just kind of basically without a team, trying our hardest to get stuff out there, and we met our manager along the way. So by the time we got to 2018, that felt like an exciting year for us. And I think it was on like the 25th of January, someone dropped out of a support slot at Amira, which is a great venue in London Bridge, which we actually played. We did 2 nights there for our tour last year. But I'd always loved that venue, and it's just a great place to play. And we got the call the day before to say, "Are you free to do this show?" And it was like the first show that we'd probably done to over 200, 300 people, and it was just for me, that was just like the dream come true. And we've done 400 shows since then, but that has always kind of stuck in my head. And I remember that they told us, because there was like a 7-piece band going on after us, and they told us that we needed to get off the stage really quickly, and my adrenaline was so big. Remember you had a Black Star amp, and they were like, you need to clear the stage really quickly, and I grabbed
the
that
heaviest amp you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I was so happy. I was so happy and so like there's so much adrenaline. I picked it up with one hand and took it out to the car. And you were like, "What are you doing?" I was just like, "This is the best day of my life."
You can't pick that amp up in one hand.
It's just full Incredible Hulk.
Yeah. It's like, here we go.
Just because, honestly, and I think there have been so many other moments since then, but that was like the first one where it felt really special. And there are still people that come to watch us now who are like, "We saw you at that gig. We saw you, 2 years ago at Amira," and that just like, it just felt really, really significant to me. That was definitely a good moment. I mean, we certainly now, and always have, we never have quite managed to shake the feeling that we are treading water all the time, running in sand, and that at any moment the water that we're treading is going to be drained out of the swimming pool, and it's just going to all come to a grinding halt, the whole thing. And never managed to shake that feeling. And so I don't know if we ever will. In fact,
do you even want to? Is that a good feeling? Does that keep you on your toes
Well,
and keep you creative and thinking, I'm grateful to be here where I am. Let's stick
Yeah.
at it instead of getting complacent.
that's a good point, and I think if you were if you're honest, you probably do want to shake that feeling. You want to feel like you've
Maybe for a
arrived
bit,
somewhere.
yeah.
You want to be like, yeah, right, we've arrived now. I'm going to take the foot off the gas. But that just isn't really in our personality. And it's not in the career that we've chosen in the music industry. There's someone else, there's always someone better than you, whatever you're doing in any walk of life. And we've always had that attitude. And so we've always been desperate to just work as hard as we can and prove ourselves. But I think that having, still our most popular songs when we play live, and the stuff that streams the best still in most instances is the stuff off Made in Streatham, recorded in Streatham. And it's certainly a lesson to us that we always need to remember. And hopefully, if there's other artists who are sitting there going, well, I don't have a team, so I can't do anything, and I don't have a record label, so I can't put any music out, and I don't have a studio, so I can't record anything. That's all total nonsense. You can do all of those things by yourself. You just need to have a little bit of creativity. You can buy an interface and a microphone for probably less than £100. So if you can do that, then you've got a studio. And that's essentially all we had, plus a couple of hired things and a little bit of imagination. So
but it's the belief and the drive which you can't buy.
That's true. That's true. And I think that's where we've been quite lucky to have each other, when things have been tough. If we've ever done, some of the touring, especially in like the depths of winter, touring can be really, really tough. It's obviously, we're always grateful to be on the road, but it can get really hard. And sometimes if the performances aren't quite right, it can take its toll after years of doing it. And I think the fact that we've got each other to kind of, and Archie's right, we do have kind of obsessive personalities, both of us, and wanting to work hard and always get further. I think we're quite good at picking each other up, when things can get a bit hard. But yeah, I mean, you are right that the to have the confidence to do something like record your own EP and stuff, it's really hard, and it does take a long time to kind of trust yourself as well with the writing and with the ideas. We're still doing that now. We still listen to our old stuff and go, oh God, no, that the stuff that we're doing now is so much better, and it's very easy to constantly be self-critical day after day. So,
but I assume it's really a question of finding the balance, that being self-critical and being aware, but also, like you said earlier, music or art, it's never perfect, and it's accepting that you need to be able to produce something regardless of whether it's 100%. Getting it out there and being creative is what counts. And if you're so uptight about getting every tiny detail right, then you'll never actually have anything to show for your work, will you?
You're so right. And that's where Michael's quite good. Like when he did a lot of guidance. He's quite good. No, but he's very good at that. He's very good at telling us when enough's enough. Because when we do our demos, we can agonize for days over certain aspects of it, and he's
so
very
some objective ears.
Yeah, and he knows now, after knowing us for 4 years. He knows kind of how to be with us, how to kind of not manipulate, that sounds like an awful word, but if I'm doing a vocal take and I'm not quite getting it or something.
Issy will nail the vocal take the first time.
Not always.
Yeah, nearly always. Especially if it's a song that we have played live, or toured, Issy will turn up and go, right, we've got a level, okay, and literally, however long the song is, that is then she's done, and then she'll be like, no, I can do it better. I didn't nail the middle eight. All right, let's do another one. We'll do a few more. and it's nearly always the first take
That's
we
kind.
choose.
So is this what Issy has that I didn't? I was wondering why, you replaced me with someone much younger, more talented and beautiful, and thinking, oh, wait, then, what's the selling point? Oh, she can actually nail a take in a recording studio without having to go and have a sulk and a cup of tea because I can't get a bloody bass line right.
Well, look, all I'm saying.
Salt. There's time and space for salt and cups of teas.
Yeah. Definitely. I'm chief sulker and cup of tea maker. But it's and this isn't. We're not just going to spend the whole time complimenting each other. But even in the stuff that we're doing now, we just put together an EP, and it's really exciting. But I do some of the graphics that for us, and that means that I do like the listings of what goes on each song. And it's really funny because it's like, okay, so the song, right? Okay, Issy, vocals, great. Okay, Archie, drums, bass, guitar, organ, farfisa, mellotron, percussion, and I don't know, everything else, and it's hilarious. So if I can come in and do my one job well after writing the song, then I've got a lot to live up to.
And how many singers can you name compared to how many Farfisa players can you name on an album? That's what I want to know.
I didn't know what a Farfisa was.
Who are your top 3 Farfisa artists of all time?
I didn't know what one of those was until we were in America, in Seattle.
They're cool. Farfisas are cool. I like a crappy looking Italian organ thing.
It sounds like Moroccan street food, to be honest.
Yes,
it does. But they've got quite a sort of a harsher organ sound than a Hammond, like a beautiful Hammond organ is great. We always love that sound. But Farfisa is much more sinister sounding, much darker, a bit sort of harsher. It would distort a little bit more easily. But you can run one of those through a Leslie speaker and you'll get a sort of weird, almost Hammondy kind of thing. Anyway,
congratulations. You've not only made it into my top 3 Farfisa players of all time, but also one of my top 3 Farfisa experts of all time. So if everyone needs stats about that, I know where to find you. Don't expect a phone call anytime soon, but I know where you are.
just so I can get from top 3 to number 1, or maybe I can have a stab at that. There is some funny video actually of us playing Farfisa with Ryan. Ryan Hadlock, who's a producer we work with in Seattle with Bear Creek Studios, and the Farfisa, or the one that he has, you use your knee. I don't know if you see my knee. You use your knee to it does.
For people listening to the podcast version, Archie has demonstrated that he does have a fully functioning knee.
Well, not everybody does have fully functioning knees. Anyway, you move it with your knee. You sort of lift your knee up and you move it from left to right, and it changes the sound. It makes it kind of like almost like a wah pedal, like that changes the EQ. Okay. So there's some funny, because we couldn't quite play it, so it took 2 of us to play it at points.
Yeah.
So I was doing the knee thing and I couldn't reach the note up there, so he was then playing the note on the right, on the top, or I can't remember, or maybe on the bottom. But there's some funny footage of that. So anyway, I'm hoping I'll be able to move to number 3 1 now.
We've gone down some interesting paths on this little chat, haven't we? You're talking about fully functioning knees. If I used my knee as a musical instrument, I think it'd be quite good as percussion. It's got, like, every time I straighten it out, it gives like a nice little rim shot, and it's like some nice grindy, sort of like the egg shakers almost when I move it around. So maybe the Farfisa isn't the one for me, but I will find my my obscure instrument one of these days, I'm sure. I'd like to move on a little bit and actually talk to how you've adapted. How have you managed to keep the creativity flowing, and how have you managed to adapt to not playing live? Because I know that really helps your creativity.
Well, we were really lucky because when this all when the C word kind of struck, we were touring. We were in Europe, and so without realizing it, because we were then supposed to be off in the States and touring the States, and had a diary full. And so we didn't know it at the time, but our last bit of touring, those last few weeks were great, really, really good shows. We were touring with Jade Bird, who is our friend from Spiritual Bar, and so we were on the road with our mates, and the crowds were were amazing, and it was just a really, really good couple of weeks. So at least we had that. I think that's what's been quite nice to think about when we've been here. And we literally scraped past like kind of the deadlines as to when everything was closing. So we were right, we kind of got back here on the 15th of March or something, which was quite scary. But yeah, so we had that, and I think the only other thing, we then took it as an opportunity to write, which was something that we haven't been able to focus on in its entirety for quite a few years. We've been used to writing on the road, and as Archie said, like doing demos and weird Airbnbs on the road and in vans and all of that. So to be able to do that actually felt like a bit of a luxury. It really did feel quite nice. And then I think to keep the creativeness flowing, you've got to feel happy. You've got to kind of look after yourself. So we've been sleeping a lot, eating good food. I really like cooking.
I've seen a lot of that. I've dribbled all over my Instagram.
I'm not gonna lie, I've become very proud. But yeah, I think it's also so it's that it's if you can focus on your kind of well-being, then the creative side naturally comes. Whereas if there have been some really low points, like for everybody, it's just really difficult not seeing your friends and family, and then you don't want to write, you don't want to be creative, you don't want to do anything. So I think it's just a balance really of kind of just accepting where you are and then getting on with it. But we've written a lot, and we've actually had, it's been a really hard time obviously, but there have been a lot of light moments.
And you've literally just finished your EP, your latest EP. You finished that yesterday, you were saying.
Well, that's what we've been working on that for the last I guess like month really. We put out a single, Everyone Is Home, in May. There's one of those songs, I don't even know what the date is. I don't know what day it is. I don't know what the date is.
It's the 63rd of April.
Exactly. That sounds about right. So it's definitely one of those songs. But we did Everyone Is Home. We recorded that here in our studio. And we decided that since we can't be playing live, we can't be touring, we wanted to just keep trying to be productive, keep putting stuff out like we talked about, and so we just carried that on. We had some songs that we felt were going to fit well together as an EP, and so we kept going and recorded them here, and they will be out soon. They'll be out quite soon. But just to go back to the writing thing quickly, I know we've spoken about this briefly over the phone, there's a pressure that because there's nothing else going on, there is an almost pressure to be like, well, we have to be writing then, and we have to be productive. And we've I've been more guilty of this than you. I've been like, right, we should be able to finish 3 songs every week, recorded, everything done. If we're not doing that, then what are we doing? We should be able to be doing that. And really, we haven't done that. We've maybe done almost one a week, and so that's kind of annoyed me a little bit. But actually, that's not bad, and you're able to spend quite a lot of time on it.
And you haven't forced it, and presumably the quality is better because it's happened organically, as opposed to you, instead of forcing yourself to write 3 songs, bang, 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 and get them out, and it's quantity. Actually, getting the quality is the important thing, isn't it?
You're so right, because targets and stuff with creating stuff, with songwriting, can be really, really tough, like really tough. And as Archie said, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and that's obviously self-inflicted, but it's still very much there. But things like getting the drum kit, Archie's now, it's crazy, honestly. We've had these drums for maybe less than 2 months, and he's amazing.
That's not.
Well, you are, but then
I've always been playing drums.
I've always been amazing. Always been amazing. But yeah, like those things.
My hands didn't know it yet. That's the only problem. I've had a rhythm in my head since the day I was born, but my hands weren't connected.
But I think that's quite important to then. Each song we've learned something new. We've kind of set ourselves a new challenge, and so instead of just being like, right, we're going to write that song and okay, that's done, and then the next one, you know, whether that's working with different time signatures or different tempos, or doing a new drum beat, or recording the drums in a different way, or recording the vocals in a different way. We've tried to kind of mix it up so that we're not getting stuck into one road with
Keep it fresh.
Yeah.
So maybe the structures come from challenging yourself to experiment with new styles and new methods, as opposed to saying we must finish this on this date.
That's it. And that's been a much healthier way for us to work, I think.
I think it's
Guiding
important.
instead of controlling.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, any time when you're when we're writing, for example, I will pick up a guitar and I just bore myself picking it up and playing a D shape. The D shape on an acoustic guitar for me is the most boring, uninspiring feeling ever. But if I play a D major on a piano, because I don't really play piano, sort of
So it may not be a D major then.
something
Jazz.
Yeah, but it's exactly it will be D major. So I get the guitar and go ding, and then ding ding ding, no ding, and then work it out on the piano. That's kind of how I do it. And I'll go, that is great. That is a genius chord. That is, and then the song will come from there. And where it's just the same thing, but it just feels slightly different.
Archie's actually being kind. Himself playing a D major chord might not be very inspiring, but Archie hates it the most if I play a D major chord. I'm not a very good guitar player, and if I come with an idea, Archie prefers me to sing it a cappella, which I get, you know, because my knowledge isn't good enough.
It's only because I have it's not a good trait, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with a D major chord. Some of the best songs ever have C, D, G. And there'll be some of my favourite songs ever, and some of our songs do that. But I just need to get it out of my head that there's nothing wrong with the D major guitar chord, and that it doesn't have anything to do with how good the song is, and that's what Izzy and I are always trying to.
So the nugget of wisdom you're trying to impart with us, Archie, it's not about the D; it's what you do with it.
Yes,
that's right. It's not. It's not about the size of the neck or the.
Hang on, no, you've taken this too far. I've been biting my tongue for the last 2 minutes trying to get that horrible, sort of cringy bit of innuendo out, and then he made it even more weird, which I didn't think was possible. I think you're going to play a little song for us fairly soon, but before we have that, how do you find that balance? Because obviously your life is music. You are living together, you're touring together, you're constantly in each other's presence, and you've got that real sort of drive. But how don't you ever wind each other up? Don't you drive each other crazy? And how do you find that balance together as a couple, or just that headspace to allow you to actually function professionally and personally?
Well, we do drive each other crazy. I don't think that it wouldn't be right to kind of create an illusion that everything's really easy, because like everybody's lives and everybody's relationships, you know, nothing's ever easy. But especially when you're trying really hard to, you know, be creative, and the frustrations, you know, to have to share the same frustration, you know, when you get to share success, that's fantastic. And mostly it's a great thing to also share the kind of lack of success or the disappointment. Yeah. But then sometimes it can be really hard, you know, to both feel that equally as powerfully. But you're right, there has to be a balance, and that honestly I think comes from whether that's me having to go into the kitchen and make a mac and cheese, or you going in and going for a run,
or buying a drum kit.
You know, the drums. But I think it's
it made me really angry today.
But it's got to be, you do have to have a balance, and we don't always get that right. But especially when we're touring, it's really hard.
How do you switch off then? What are your alternative outlets?
Knitting.
I know we're discussing box sets and things and cooking.
Yeah, mine's knitting and cooking.
Woo! rock and roll.
Very, very rock and roll. It's so not rock and roll, but I absolutely love it. And
At the same time, I just see you with chopsticks and noodles trying to make a nice little edible scarf.
oh, that'd be fun. I haven't done that yet.
Next challenge of lockdown.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. It's important to have a switch off mechanism. I probably struggled with that for a while. I didn't really have one, but I've been trying to concentrate as much as I can on just getting a lot of exercise in whilst we're at home, because that's something that I find really frustrating when we're touring.
Yeah.
Is that I can't exercise as much as I want, and then even when I have time, I'm tired, and then I don't go for a run, and then that annoys me. I'm annoyed with myself in the evening. I'm like, I should have gone for a run this morning, idiot. Why didn't I go for a fucking run? And then the next day, I'll go the next day, and then I don't because I'm tired, and so that
Very easily done.
Yeah, so there's sort of the lockdown period I've tried to use to get, go for a run every day because I can. Why not? I should have been able to sleep. We weren't gigging the night before, and doing that is definitely if I feel if you get your run out in the way in the morning, I will have a much better day than I would have done if I didn't go for a run in the morning. I just feel much more productive, much better about everything. And
did you run this morning?
I didn't run this morning. I did a workout this morning though, so I'm feeling okay. Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering whether this is normal level of grumpiness or whether you have got it out of your system.
Our friends and family as well are something that keeps us incredibly balanced and happy, and we're very lucky to our families are really supportive of, if we've been on tour for ages, they'll come out and see us if we're away, and it's just it's good to have a little gang, I think, of supporters who you really love and trust. It's nice to have that. So we rely on that a lot.
Sounds good. Well, hopefully I can join that gang in person at some point when it allows, and then you'll regret saying that, won't you? Yeah, if it's all right, I'd love for you to play a little song for us.
Let's play a
if
song.
That's okay.
Yeah.
If you can include a D major chord in there.
Oh,
it's all in D. This one. You might need to tune.
There's something even better about a D major chord when it's slightly out of tune as well.
The last thing to say about productivity, I would say, is that if you feel like one day's been not a good one, draw a line under it. Tomorrow, the thing that we've all got is a lot of time. Lots of people have a lot of time.
Unless you have children.
Or unless you're working.
Working now, which lots of people are.
But a lot of people do have time, and I think it's important that, if one day has been bad, you don't have to carry it over. You can go to sleep, you can wake up, and you can try again the next day. And, that's kind of how I've been feeling. If one day's been bad, it's like, all right, just don't dwell. It's fine. Just go to sleep, wake up, do something productive tomorrow.
So words of wisdom: don't get downhearted. Tomorrow is a new day. Don't have children and don't have a real job.
Pretty much. Sounds like a good plan.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you probably didn't. You've probably been thinking it for a long time if you do have kids and a real job.
Yeah.
Archie and Issy, I believe you are set up and ready to play us a little song. So in your own time, please take it away.
Okay. She's got a front page face and her heart is made of stone. She came to the city because she's scared of getting old. Oh, and isn't she something? If you knew what was in her head. And if there ain't no rest for the wicked, then she never goes to bed. 'Cause she's got blood on her fingers and she cares for fun. You could try to chase her, but she lives for the wrong with the devil on her side. She'll be coming for you in the night. Oh, 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 oh.
Oh, he's got a big old pocket full of buys pills for his wife and powders for his son. Boy, he loves the city, and the city loves the man. If there ain't no rest for the wicked, then he will never sleep again. 'Cause he's got blood on his fingers and he kills for fun. You could try to take him, but I wouldn't do it, son, 'cause the devil's on his side. He'll be coming for you in the night. Oh, 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 oh. Everyone's so afraid of anyone else. Awesome. Oh, London is burning, and we're all gonna burn as one. And if there ain't no rest for the wicked, then there ain't no rest for us. 'Cause we've got blood on our fingers and we kill for fun. And we're all here together, looking out for number one. The devil's on our side. So we coming. We got blood on our fingers and we ain't seen the sun since we played that summer. All just children having fun. The babies, they cry. So we coming for you in the night. Hey.
Absolutely fantastic. Thanks for that, guys. I now want to drink and go out dancing, to be honest. That was absolutely brilliant.
Let's do it. It's midday.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Thursday.
Archie and Issy, you've been fantastic guests. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast. It's been a pleasure to see you and hear you. I hope to see you in person really, really soon when restrictions allow. For people listening and watching, please do go to their website, ferrisandsylvester.com, to find out about the upcoming single release, EP release later in the year, hopefully, and all the other stuff they've been getting up to, including potentially some more live performances, which you'll be able to join in with. Once again, Archie and Issy, enjoy the rest of your time in lockdown, and thanks for being on Lockdown Booty Calls.
Thank you for having us. See you soon.
This is a lockdown booty call.